update video on the garden this year, and I figured this is a good day. I was able to get out here and do a little weed eating and clean the garden up a little bit, and I figured, well, if I'm going to be out here, I might as well do an update video, just kind of show our followers on YouTube what we got going on in the garden this year. This is the third year that we have this this garden put in. So we come through. If you notice the raised beds, the dirt was settling down, and it settled about 1.5 feet because the wood chips that were in the bottom half have decomposed and settled, so the dirt on top pushed down also. And these beds are 5 foot wide, and 5 foot is just too hard to reach all the way across whenever it's up high like this to try to tend the garden. So we come along and we cut this tin down about 1 foot and made it 1 foot shorter. So now this garden bed is easier to get into. This is typically our salad garden. We raise our salads in here through the winter, and our beets and stuff like that we're going to eat. Now that salad is gone, we're at the back end of the cool spring season. It's starting to really get warm. We decided to do something different. I put bush style cantaloupes and watermelons in here. We're going to see how this does in this raised bed. They've been here for probably close to a month now. They're starting to sprawl out, and we're going to let those go over the sides and just do what they want to do. And we're going to see how cantaloupes and watermelons do in raised bed environment. One of the things I wanted to point out that we did different this year is we have irrigation on everything. You see this black pipe all the way through the garden. I've got the water timer over there at the faucet, and it's set up for 4 zones. This bed is on zone 3. This border garden over here on the right, that's zone 4. Zone 2 are those 4 raised beds back there and that carrot bed. And then zone 1 is the perimeter bed all the way around to where the tomatoes are at. And if I think about it while we're walking around, I'll point out to some of the irrigation that we got installed. Now right behind Michelle over here is one of our artichokes. This is the 3rd year we've had this artichoke in the ground. It comes back every year, and I haven't given it much attention this year, but it's looking okay. We don't have any artichoke blooms coming up on this one yet. Around over here, you see our cilantro is finishing off. We had cilantro for all of our tacos and stuff through the winter and through the spring, and now you see it went to flower, and then I got these little seeds like this. We're going to let this go to seed. This seed is coriander. You can grind this up and use this as the coriander spice. So that's what we're going to do with that. We're going to let that finish up.
It smells really good too.
Our first year here, we tried to do strawberries in the bed, and they overwhelmed us. They sprawled out. They went everywhere. They got too thick, and we took some out. We put them over here.
Now we're going to put them up in the raised bed later.
Yeah, right here behind us in this raised bed. We're going to transfer them back over here and see if we can kick up our strawberry production a little bit. They've done really well back here. We got a lot of strawberries on this year. The benefit of them being back here is they get protected from a lot of sun, because the sun comes up behind me over here and then sets them over there, so they get a lot of shade from the heat of the day, so they're not scorched to death. So that's one of the benefits of having them here. We're going to see how they do in this bed over here. Now this artichoke, this one's also been here for 3 years. I raised these from seed. It's got a nice big head on it like that. We're actually going to try to make some artichoke dip probably today. And we're going to pull 1 or 2 of these off and see what we can do with it. We let them go to flower last year. We didn't do much with them. We decided this year we're not going to just let them go to flower and go to waste. We're actually going to try to use these things for what they were meant for.
They sure were a pretty flower though.
Now over here we got a Seminole pumpkin. This is a very rare pumpkin. You can hardly ever find it. You have to actually know someone to be able to get these seeds. This is the pumpkin Cherokee Indians planted, and we had one guy that we knew of that had preserved these seeds all along, and he gave them to someone else, and then I got them from that person. These things, the first year I planted them, sprawled from one end of the fence all the way to the other, and we had pumpkins on top of pumpkins. And these are the little bacon pumpkins. They're a really good pumpkin. Cut the top on them, put some sugar and some butter in them, and bake them up. They're really good. But since this vine is so invasive, whenever I get my pumpkins off here and I'm happy with the amount of pumpkins, we're going to break up with this thing. Because this thing will just dominate the relationship.
Yes,
right?
it takes over.
So if you want to grow pumpkins for eating and you've never grown pumpkins before, try the Seminole pumpkin. You can usually do an internet search, and probably this year you'll be able to start finding seeds on like Etsy and stuff like that. So look around and maybe you can find some seeds if you're interested in growing a really good pumpkin. I had some speckled Christmas butter beans that I planted over here 3 years ago, and we've been letting them go to seed, and seeds falling down, and they were just taking up space, and I wasn't harvesting them, so I decided to just go through here this year and just get rid of them. I'm not going to let them come up and grow up this fence again. So we're probably going to come in here, and I don't know what we're going to put in these empty spaces just yet, but we're going to do some planting today. We're going to go ahead and get started on our pink-eye purple hull peas. This is our carrot bed, and if you look at this carrot bed, when we first built this thing 3 years ago, the dirt was all the way to the top. Those wood chips that were in the bottom half of this thing have rotted and settled. So the dirt on the top is settled with it. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to come in here and cut this thing off right even with the dirt, and we're going to put the wood back on it, and we're going to get it down lower. But this carrot bed has done marvelous for us. All 3 years that we've planted carrots in here, let me pull one of these carrots out. And I'll show you the kind of carrots that we get out of that.
That's huge.
Almost as long as my forearm there.
Mm-hmm.
This one's a little bit older, but believe it or not, this is still a very edible carrot. And it's still going to taste good. We used a sandy soil in this. We didn't use any of the soil that we had here. We went down to Molino, Florida, where a guy down there was selling some sandy topsoil. And that's what we filled this bed up with, was the sandy topsoil. We can get long, straight carrots like this. And so, now we just hatched some chickens. Now the eggs that didn't hatch, and some of the shells from the ones that did hatch, we've been throwing in here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take these eggs out, and I'm going to crush them down, and I'm going to put them into the soil where we plant our tomatoes, and add calcium back. So that's what we see all these eggs in here for. It's just really a holding bin until we can do something with them. But we got one more harvest of carrots in here we can do. One of our favorite things to eat is carrot souffle. It sounds disgusting, I know, but carrot souffle is probably the best way you can eat a carrot. It is just absolutely amazing, and that's one of our favorite things we like to eat. All right, coming around over here, I wanted to do some blue potatoes this year, and we looked. My friend Josh, he said, "Hey man, you got any? You know where you get any blue potato seed?" And I was like, "Hold on, let me look." And I searched for probably 30 minutes to an hour, and I didn't find anything out there for sale. So what I did is I went down to Publix, to the grocery store here in Florida, and I bought a small bag of little blue potatoes. We planted those out here. We're going to make probably one meal, and then we're going to save the rest of those potatoes that we harvest out of here for seed if we really like it. And if we do like it, we're going to come back next year and we're going to have a larger harvest of a larger planting of potatoes. So that's what we got going on here. It's blue potatoes. We're going to make blue mashed potatoes.
They're really pretty.
Looking forward to it.
Mm-hmm.
Now on our 7-foot fence over here is where we put all of our tall stuff. This is cucumbers. Look down in here. I only have three plants, I think. But cucumbers put out so much that there's no reason to plant an entire field of cucumbers unless you just want to make a lot of pickle. But these cucumbers will produce more cucumbers than you can eat. And we already have cucumbers on here. They're going to be coming ready in probably about another week or so. It's loaded up with flowers, loaded up with small baby cucumbers, and this plant's doing well. We just take them, blow them up here on the fence, and those little tendrils, they'll wrap around there and then they'll continue to climb. This is a bush variety pickling cucumber. I don't expect it will get very tall, but we put it on the fence just to trellis it anyway. This is Better Boy tomatoes. I didn't do any pruning on these this year. I just put them in the ground. I forgot about them and just put a cage over them. And they've just been growing ever since. They look pretty. I did come back. I put an organic fertilizer down here, some Epsom salt. Epsom salt will keep them from getting that rot on the bottom of the tomatoes. And I did take some of our eggshells, and I buried several eggshells down in the dirt around it to provide the calcium. So we're going to see what happens with these with just that little bit of maintenance that I did on those. But right now they look good. They're loaded up. And right in the center of those, we have some really nice sized tomatoes. It won't be long. They're going to be getting ready. Right down the center there, you can see them. But we only planted 6 because there were 6 in a tray. And I didn't even want 6. I only wanted 1 or 2. But we got 6, so we planted 6. We had our broccoli over here last week. We put up our broccoli. We harvested it, we froze it, we ripped them out of here just a few minutes ago, and Michelle fed them to the chickens. If you have chickens, feed them some heavy leaves like broccoli leaves or collards or something like that.
Or kale.
And that'll really make their egg yolks the golden color that a lot of people are desiring to have in their
It's yummy
eggs.
too.
Over here we have Delicata Squash. This is a little small 1 pound baking squash. It's about this big. And you can look it up. I wanted a good baking squash. And I've had, butternut, and I've had acorn squash. And I really didn't care about the flavor that they was giving me. But I went into the organic food store. They had some of these. I said, you know what, I'm going to give this a shot. Put some cinnamon butter in there, baked it for about an hour, pulled it out, and it was wonderful. Even Michelle liked it. She don't even like
Squash.
squash. So I'll acquire some seed. I put 3 hills of squash in here, and as soon as we get several of these things ripe, we're probably going to pull this out and get rid of it. It's one of the aggravating things you get is when you have too much of something, it sits around and it rots, and then it draws bugs, and he just gets disgusted with it. We're not going to do that this year. We're going to get what we want, and then we're going to come in here, pull this out, and then go on with the next thing. Now, right behind Michelle over here, we got sweet corn. We don't typically eat corn, but maybe 2-3 times a year. So we didn't want a big, large field of corn, but we just want to try going a little bit for ourselves. So this is some sweet corn that we planted about a month ago. And I look down in here, they're starting to get some tassels on it. You can see those tassels coming out. So it won't be long, this thing's going to start making some corn. Probably about another month or so, we're going to have corn ready to pick. We'll go through here, pick it, blanch it, put it in the freezer, and then we'll have corn for those few times that we do eat corn. One of the things we do eat a lot of is peppers. And we don't typically have bell peppers because we don't prefer the flavor over the Marconi pepper. The giant Marconi peppers is what we like to grow, and that's what you see growing here. Except for this bell pepper I planted from seed, and it's just starting to come along. But these other ones you see over here, these are Marconi peppers, and this is what we prefer. Whenever we're doing a lot of our cooking, like our squash, we cook up onions and
peppers and garlic
at the same time. So over here on our right is some of our onions.
Yummy.
On that end of the bed, we got Vidalia type onions, and on this end, we got purple type onions. And if you look in there, they're almost done. They're almost ready to come out, get chopped up, and put into freezer bags.
Some pretty onions.
So we'll save a few for fresh eating, and then we'll pull the rest of these out and dice them and put them into gallon-sized freezer bags, and we just pour those out of there whenever we need some onions. Over here is eggplant. Looks like we got an Ikebana style eggplants. We got several of those on here. So we're going to probably be doing some grilling some salmon tonight. So we may pull those off and put on the grill along with it.
That sounds good.
Fresh eggplant. Mammoth jalapenos. We like poppers every once in a while. This is a really good pepper. If you like to do poppers, it isn't excessively hot. It won't just burn you up. But it's it has a good sized pepper on it.
Yeah.
And it holds a lot of the cream cheese. All right, so sorry about the little interruption right there. Michelle got a notification her phone cut off. I think we were right back here talking about these jalapeno peppers. Mammoth jalapeno is probably one of the best peppers that you can get if you like to do stuffed jalapeno peppers. Not too hot. They're not have a nice big cavity, and they hold a lot of your stuffing for the peppers. And then on over here we have Marconi again. Now, if you look in this corner, we got this watermelon. This watermelon was supposed to be a watermelon. This was supposed to have been a tomato transplant. And I thought that I had a deformed looking tomato transplant when I first transplanted it. It was really small. And turned out it's a watermelon. I don't even know what type of watermelon this is. We're going to let this grow and we're going to see. And then we have an ancho pepper right here that we've just put in recently.
More peppers over here.
Now over here off to the right is our asparagus bed. We did 3 harvests off the asparagus bed this year.
It's bushy.
And I've never had fresh asparagus. I've only had supermarket asparagus where you go and get it from Walmart. But if you've ever had fresh asparagus, it absolutely is a wonderful vegetable to have. You see all the stalks in there. I bought 25 transplants 3 years ago, put them in this bed. This is the first year that we've had asparagus. And if I had more room, I would probably plant 2 to 3 times more than what we have right here. I enjoyed it that much. And these perform very well. We have lettuce over here, red sales lettuce. This is finishing up. Right behind the lettuce, we had sugar snap peas. We harvested our sugar snaps last week, put those in freezer bags, and we got those plants out of there. It won't be long behind it. All of this lettuce will be finishing up also. This is some of our kale. We're going to be getting rid of this real soon. As it gets hotter, this kale is going to finish off. And I don't know what we're going to put in this bed just yet. On this bed over here is all of our yellow squash. I got some straight neck and some crook neck squash in here. Oh, looks like I missed one the other day when we were picking some squash. This is almost too big. But the squash is doing really well. Good looking squash. I'm going to go ahead and just pick a few of these. I'm going to have to come back and pick some of these squash off of here. But this is our first harvest of squash. We had our first squash meal the other night. We're probably not going to have these, tonight or tomorrow night or anything. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut these up, blanch them for 3 minutes in hot boiling water, put them over in the freezer bags, and then we'll have squash that we can pull out and we could do stewed squash with. So that's what we do with all of our excess squash that we don't eat fresh. I don't know what happened with our okra. It came up really sparse, but I got over 20 plants of okra here, and this will provide more okra than what we'll need anyway. So we're just going to let this come on up, and then we're going to be able to put this in small little freezer bags for gumbos and whatever it is, stews and stuff that we want to do. All right, that is the garden. That's what we got going on. We're getting ready to put in some pink-eyed purple hull peas over here probably today. And hopefully we're going to do an updated video real soon. So stay tuned. Go ahead and follow us on the YouTube, Floribama Homesteader. We also have a Facebook page. And if you want to leave us a comment, you can leave us a comment on Facebook. And we'll talk to you later.